The Galactic Empire, a vast and powerful collection of star systems, had always gotten what it wanted. With their advanced technology and military might, they controlled planets across the galaxy, using their power to expand and conquer without much opposition. However, there was one planet that was about to change everything. The blue and green jewel of the universe, Earth. The Galactic Empire had been traveling across the stars for centuries, and their newest mission was to pass through Earth's solar system. They needed a shortcut, and Earth was conveniently located at the crossroads of several key routes. The Empire sent a request to Earth's leaders, asking for permission to use the solar system as a passage for their massive fleet. The message was polite, formal, but filled with hidden demands. The fleet, consisting of hundreds of ships, needed to pass through Earth's space. It was a simple request, one that the Empire believed would be granted without question. After all, Earth was a relatively young civilization compared to the advanced species of the Empire. What could a single planet do against the might of an empire that spanned across the stars? But Earth's response was not what they expected. In the year 2217, the United Nations had evolved into the Planetary Federation, a powerful organization made up of Earth and its colonies on the Moon, Mars, and beyond. This federation was not just about politics. It was about protecting humanity's future, its sovereignty, and its way of life. When the message from the Galactic Empire arrived, it was passed along to the Federation Council, the highest authority on Earth. Council members gathered in a secure, state-of-the-art conference room to discuss the request. The Empire's message was clear. We seek your permission to allow our fleet to pass through your solar system. This will allow us to save time and avoid unnecessary detours. Our fleet requires no interference and will respect your planetary boundaries. The message was formal, cold, and, to the Federation leaders, arrogant. The Council's response, however, was equally clear and decisive. The Federation, speaking as one voice, rejected the Empire's request. It was a historic moment. A small, relatively young human species standing firm against one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. The reply was firm, written in simple words that carried the weight of centuries of human history. We cannot allow your fleet to pass through our solar system. Earth's sovereignty is non-negotiable. We refuse permission. No passage will be granted. For the people of Earth, this wasn't just about a single request. It was a statement about who they were and what they stood for. Over the past few centuries, humans had fought wars, explored space, and built their way up from a single world to a thriving interplanetary civilization. They had experienced the horrors of colonization and the terror of foreign powers controlling their fate. Now, the people of Earth had one simple rule. They would never let anyone take their freedom again. The message was sent, but the Federation knew that the response would not be the end of it. The Galactic Empire, used to getting its way, would not take rejection lightly. The next day, a new transmission arrived, this one much more direct. The Empire made its threats clear. If you refuse, you will regret it. We do not ask for your permission. We expect it. Your failure to comply will have consequences. The Empire's tone was now threatening, a sharp contrast to their previous diplomacy. It was a warning that Earth was not prepared for what was coming next. The Galactic Empire was not known for letting anything stand in its way, and it had the firepower to back up its threats. But the Federation remained unmoved. The leaders of Earth, now aware of the seriousness of the situation, gathered once again. There was no fear in their eyes. They had faced countless struggles before, and they knew that this was no different. Human history was full of moments when the odds seemed impossible, and yet humanity had always managed to overcome. The Federation issued its response, a final declaration of humanity's resolve. We have already given you our answer. There will be no passage through our solar system. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Our decision is final. As the message was broadcast across the galaxy, the people of Earth watched, some nervously, but most with pride. They had made their stand. They had told the Galactic Empire that Earth was not a place to be used as a shortcut for their imperial ambitions. Earth would not be bullied. Unbeknownst to the Empire, Earth had been preparing for this moment for years. With their advanced technology and innovative military strategies, the Federation had built a series of defense systems designed to protect their home. They were ready for whatever the Empire decided to do next. But for now, the ball was in the Empire's court. The stars outside Earth's orbit flickered as the Galactic Empire weighed its options. They could no longer see Earth as just another planet. The Empire had met a new kind of resistance, one that refused to back down. The consequences of this decision would ripple through the galaxy, but humanity was ready. The warning had been sent. Earth would not surrender. The days following Earth's rejection of the Galactic Empire's request were tense, not just for the leaders of the Planetary Federation, but for the entire population. Earth had never faced an enemy like this before, and the thought of the mighty Galactic Empire setting its sights on their world sent waves of uncertainty through the population. Despite the fear, however, there was something else growing among the people, a sense of unity and determination. Humanity had always prided itself on resilience, and this moment was no different. From the towering skyscrapers in New York City to the vast settlements on Mars, there was a shared understanding that this was a pivotal moment in human history. The message from the Federation was clear. Earth would stand its ground. As soon as the Galactic Empire's threat was received, the Federation's leaders activated their highest-level defense plans. Years of preparation, planning, and innovation came to life. Despite humanity's relatively young age in space, the Federation had invested heavily in creating advanced defense systems. They had learned from the mistakes of past civilizations, understanding that a planet left undefended would eventually fall prey to outside powers. Earth's defense network was a vast and complex system, spread across multiple layers of space. It wasn't just about weapons, it was about ensuring that any attack from the Empire would be met with a force far beyond what they could ever imagine. The first line of defense was the orbital platforms, massive, heavily armed stations that orbited Earth. These platforms were equipped with high-powered energy cannons, anti-ship missiles, and advanced tracking systems that could identify threats from light years away. But that was just the beginning. In the outer reaches of the solar system, the Federation had set up hidden fleets of stealth ships, capable of moving unnoticed through the dark void of space. These ships were human-made marvels, powered by fusion engines and shielded by technology that made them nearly invisible to enemy sensors. They could strike fast and retreat before the Empire even realized what had happened. To protect the heart of Earth itself, the Federation had developed a planetary shield system. It was a massive force field that surrounded the entire planet, powered by solar arrays placed across Earth's orbit. The shield was not only impenetrable but also capable of deflecting any attack. The shield had never been tested in real combat before, but now it was about to be. Despite the immense power of these defenses, the people of Earth knew that a war with the Galactic Empire would not be easy. The Empire had fleets that could outnumber and outgun anything humanity had ever faced. Yet there was something the Empire didn't understand: human ingenuity and the unwavering determination of those who refused to be enslaved. In a military bunker beneath the surface of the moon, Earth's top military commanders and scientists gathered. Their task was not just to defend. It was to send a message loud and clear to the Empire. They knew they couldn't rely on brute force alone. They had to outsmart the Empire. "We are not like the others," General Sarah Yang said, her voice steady but filled with resolve. "We won't bow to them. We don't just fight for survival. We fight for our way of life. And if they want to take that from us, they will have to go through us." Her words echoed in the minds of everyone in the room. Humanity's strength was not in its weapons alone, but in its heart and willpower. Over the centuries, humans had faced countless challenges, from the depths of war to the endless void of space, and yet they had never given up. Now the Empire had made the mistake of underestimating them. As Earth prepared for the unknown, life on the planet continued, even amid the uncertainty. People across Earth's nations rallied together, working tirelessly in factories and labs to improve their defenses. Across the world, from bustling cities to quiet rural towns, humanity was united by one common goal: to protect their home, their families, and their freedom. The Federation's military forces had already begun to position themselves around Earth, preparing for whatever the Empire might send their way. On the moon's surface, fleets of stealth ships waited, their weapons primed and ready for the moment when the Empire's fleet would arrive. Humanity had never been more prepared for a fight, but they had also never hoped more deeply for peace. But the Empire was relentless. Shortly after Earth's refusal, the first signs of their presence appeared. Massive ships in deep space, on a trajectory toward the solar system. They had made their decision. They were coming. The Empire's ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Their sheer size and power were staggering. But even as the Federation braced for the coming conflict, the people of Earth remained firm. There was no turning back now. The rejection was made. And no matter how many ships the Empire sent, Earth would not allow them to pass. When the first Empire ship entered the solar system, Earth's military forces stood ready. The tension in the air was thick. Each person on Earth, from the young to the old, understood what was at stake. But in the hearts of every human on the planet, there was a single unspoken belief: they would not fall. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity. And now, they would see what happens when they try to take on a species that refused to bow. The cold vastness of space stretched out as the first Imperial ships approached Earth's solar system. Their arrival was silent, like a shadow creeping across the stars, massive and unstoppable. The fleet, a formidable armada, consisted of enormous warships, each one equipped with technology far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. The ships were sleek and terrifying, their dark hulls designed to instill fear in the hearts of their enemies. The Empire's fleet moved with purpose, the rumbling of their engines echoing through the quiet expanse of space. For the people of Earth, it was a sight unlike any they had ever witnessed. The fleet was so large that it filled the skies, even from the far reaches of the solar system. It wasn't just a threat, it was a warning. Earth had rejected the Empire's request, and now they were about to face the consequences. But as the Imperial ships neared Earth, they found something unexpected waiting for them. The Federation had not been idle. Across the planet, every nation was on alert. Military bases, hidden deep within mountains and beneath oceans, were ready for the battle that could change the fate of humanity. The human defense systems were powerful, but they had never faced a fleet like the one before them. At the heart of the Federation's command, General Sarah Yang stood in front of a massive holographic display, her eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. Around her, a team of military experts worked tirelessly, analyzing every movement of the enemy ships. Despite the tension, there was no fear in Sarah's eyes. She had been through countless battles. But this was different. This was for the future of humanity. "They're closing in," one of the analysts said, his voice tight with urgency. "At their current speed, they'll be within firing range in less than 2 hours. Prepare the orbital platforms," Sarah ordered. "Activate the planetary shield. We've trained for this. We are ready." The countdown began. All across Earth, the same orders were being relayed to military units, scientists, and engineers. In space, the orbital defense platforms slowly rotated into position, their massive weapons locking onto the approaching Imperial ships. The planetary shield flickered to life, a shimmering barrier forming around the Earth, glowing with energy. Meanwhile, humanity's hidden fleets of stealth ships also began to move. They had been prepared for this moment for years, trained to operate in the shadows. Their mission was not only to defend, but to give the Empire a message: Earth would never surrender. The stealth ships, invisible to the enemy sensors, slipped into position, silently surrounding the... "We should have expected this," the council member said, his voice laced with anger. Earth is proving to be more difficult than anticipated, but it doesn't matter. Our fleet outmatches them in every way. They will fall before us. The officer nodded, but there was doubt in his eyes. He had seen countless planets fall to the might of the Galactic Empire, but Earth was different. There was something in the way they stood their ground that made him uneasy. Back on Earth, General Sarah Yang addressed the Federation Council. The moment was approaching. The enemy was nearly here, and the fate of the planet rested on their shoulders. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice calm yet firm. "We've trained for this, and now it's time to show them what humanity is made of. We fight not just for survival, but for our future." The council members exchanged determined looks. This was their moment, their chance to show the galaxy that Earth would not be a pawn in anyone's game. At the same time, across Earth's cities, the people were glued to their screens, watching the news broadcasts. They knew the battle was coming. There were no more questions, no more negotiations. The Empire had made their move, and now humanity would respond. As the Imperial ships entered Earth's orbit, the first wave of attacks began. Energy beams shot out from the Imperial warships, targeting the orbital defense platforms. But the platforms were ready. They fired back, their weapons crackling with energy. The battle was on. In space, the stealth ships moved quickly, launching surprise attacks on the enemy fleet. Though outnumbered, the human ships used their agility and advanced technology to strike fast and retreat, avoiding the full force of the Empire's might. The Galactic Empire, confident in its superiority, was beginning to realize that this would not be as easy as they had imagined. Back on Earth, the planetary shield held strong, deflecting most of the Empire's energy attacks. The Earth's defense systems were pushing back with everything they had. But despite the impressive technology and fierce determination, the Empire's fleet was still massive, and the battle was far from over. As the war raged on in space, the people of Earth watched with bated breath. This was more than a fight for survival. It was a fight for everything they had worked for their freedom and their future. And as the battle continued, one thing became clear to everyone. Earth would not bow. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they would face the consequences. The space around Earth had transformed into a battleground. The Galactic Empire's fleet, vast and powerful, clashed against Earth's prepared defenses, sending shockwaves through the very fabric of space. Energy beams fired from the Empire's warships illuminated the darkness, but humanity's defenses, though not as advanced, were holding strong. General Sarah Yang stood at the command center, her eyes locked on the holographic displays of the ongoing battle. The battle had only just begun, but the stakes had never been higher. The Empire's fleet was relentless, firing volley after volley of high-energy blasts at Earth's orbital defense platforms. Each hit shook the station, but the shield held, deflecting the worst of the attacks. Around her, technicians and soldiers worked quickly to monitor the status of the planetary defense grid. The shield was powerful, but it wasn't invincible. The constant barrage from the Empire's warships was wearing it down, and Sarah knew that soon they would have to change tactics. "Initiate the counterattack," Sarah ordered. "Activate the reserve fleets and reinforce the outer platforms. We cannot let them breach the shield." At her command, Earth's hidden fleets of stealth ships surged into action, darting through the void like shadows. Their advanced engines allowed them to move undetected by the enemy, and they began to strike from unexpected angles, hitting the Empire's warships with precise, crippling attacks. The stealth ships weren't strong enough to take down the Empire's massive fleet, but their hit-and-run tactics were forcing the Imperial forces to divide their attention. On Earth, every citizen felt the weight of the conflict. The skies above were filled with the knowledge that the planet was under attack. But Earth's people had lived through hardships before. There was no panic, only resolve. Across cities, neighborhoods, and even rural towns, people continued their daily lives, knowing the military was doing its job, fighting to protect them. On the Moon, Earth's reserve military fleets were stationed, waiting for their moment to strike. The fleets were smaller, more agile than the Empire's enormous ships. But what they lacked in size, they made up for with creativity and innovation. The ships were armed with experimental weapons that could surprise the Empire and shift the tide of the battle. Meanwhile, as the battle raged on in space, the Galactic Empire's officers on their flagship were growing increasingly frustrated. They had expected a swift victory, but instead, they were faced with a determined foe. The officer standing at the command console scowled at the holographic map of the battlefield. "Report," the officer barked at a subordinate. "We've taken damage to several of the outer ships," the subordinate replied, his voice laced with concern. "Their stealth ships are proving to be a difficult target. We underestimated them." The officer clenched his fist. "We will crush them. All ships, focus fire on their outer defenses. Break their shield." Though the Empire had never encountered such resistance, their arrogance led them to believe their overwhelming firepower would be enough to destroy humanity's defenses. What they failed to realize was the determination of the people they were fighting against. Back on Earth, the Federation's council watched the battle unfold, the tension palpable in the room. Sarah Yang's steady leadership was a source of strength for everyone. As the battle intensified, the planetary shield began to flicker, weakened by the Empire's continuous onslaught. "General, the shield's energy levels are dropping," one of the technicians said. "At this rate, it won't last much longer." Sarah didn't flinch. "We knew it wouldn't hold forever. Prepare the ground forces. If the shield falls, we need to buy time for the counterattack to strike the heart of their fleet." On the battlefield, the human ships were beginning to run low on ammunition and energy, but they weren't about to back down. In the skies, the orbital defense platforms unleashed a flurry of laser fire, striking the Empire's ships with precision. The human forces were giving it their all, but the sheer size of the Imperial fleet was overwhelming. "Get us closer," yelled Captain James Turner, commanding one of Earth's fastest ships. His ship's engines roared as it zipped past an Imperial warship, narrowly avoiding its weapon blasts. The captain's face was set in grim determination. The human forces knew they couldn't win through force alone. They had to outsmart the Empire, and their best hope lay in their stealth fleets and their ability to hit where the enemy least expected it. On Earth's surface, people watched the fight unfold on screens, glued to news broadcasts. There was fear in their eyes, but there was also pride. The battle was fierce, but the humans were holding their ground. The Empire had underestimated them, and now they were feeling the consequences of that mistake. As Earth's defense systems took a toll, General Sarah Yang stood resolute, not allowing herself to be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the battle. She had seen defeat in her career before, but she had also witnessed humanity's strength when they came together. "If they want this planet, they'll have to fight for it," Sarah muttered under her breath, her hand gripping the armrest of her command chair. Out in space, the battle continued to rage. The Empire's fleet pressed on, but Earth's defenses were far from finished. The human fleet was scattered and worn, but it fought with everything it had. The stealth ships were still darting in and out of the shadows, the outer platforms were holding steady, and the ground forces were ready for the moment when the shield would fall. The battle for Earth was far from over. The message was clear: humanity would never surrender. They would fight until the very last breath to protect their home. And the Empire would soon realize underestimating humanity was a mistake they would regret. The battle raged on, a chaotic dance of destruction in the void of space. The Galactic Empire's fleet continued to press forward, determined to break through Earth's defenses, but humanity's forces were holding strong. The planetary shield was weakening, but it was still intact, and the human fleet had not given up. On Earth's command center, General Sarah Yang stood, her eyes never leaving the holographic map that displayed the movements of the battle. Sweat dotted her brow, but she refused to show any sign of fatigue. The Federation had prepared for this moment for years, and she wasn't going to let the Empire take everything they had worked for. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm but firm. One of the analysts quickly relayed the information. "The shield is holding for now, but we've lost 3 outer platforms. The Empire is concentrating their fire on the remaining ones." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. She knew they couldn't keep this up forever. The Empire's fleet was too powerful. They had to find a way to turn the tide, and fast. "Activate Plan Delta," Sarah said decisively. "It's time to move in our reserves. Prepare the ground forces for a coordinated assault once the shield falls." Her words echoed through the command center, and the room burst into motion as officers scrambled to relay the orders. Plan Delta was risky, humanity's last hope, but it was all they had left. Meanwhile, above Earth, the battle intensified. The Empire's warships, having dealt a significant blow to the outer defense platforms, now set their sights on the core of Earth's defenses. The Imperial fleet was confident they were winning. But then, the unexpected happened. From the shadows of the battlefield, Earth's reserve fleet of smaller, faster ships emerged. They had been waiting for this moment, silently hiding among the debris of destroyed platforms. The reserve ships were armed with powerful experimental weapons designed to be unpredictable and devastating. The moment they entered the fray, they unleashed a volley of energy blasts that struck the Imperial fleet with pinpoint accuracy. The first wave of Imperial ships shuddered as their hulls were pierced, and their shields flickered in an attempt to block the devastating energy beams. The Empire's commanders were caught off guard. They hadn't expected humanity to have such weapons at their disposal. The reserve ships continued their assault, darting in and out of the battle like wasps, striking and then retreating before the Empire could retaliate. "Report," barked the officer aboard the Imperial flagship. His face was a mixture of surprise and growing frustration. "We're taking damage," the officer at the console reported. "They're new ships. We didn't detect them in time. They've already taken down 3 of our outer warships." The Imperial officers exchanged worried glances. They had underestimated Earth. And now, humanity's surprise attack was making them pay the price. But it wasn't over yet. The Empire still had a significant numerical advantage. "Reinforce the outer lines," the officer commanded. "We cannot let them break through." As the Imperial fleet attempted to regroup, General Sarah Yang stood at the command center, watching the shift in momentum. She knew the battle was far from over, but for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope. The reserve ships had caused significant damage, and the Empire's confidence was beginning to waver. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. "Continue the counterattacks," Sarah ordered, her voice unwavering. "Keep the pressure on them. We've got them on the defensive now." The battle raged for hours, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The human reserve fleet moved like shadows, hitting the Empire's warships where they least expected it. Every time the Empire thought they had the upper hand, another surprise strike from the human forces would force them to retreat and regroup. On Earth's surface, the people watched with bated breath. The news broadcasts showed the battle in real time, capturing both the devastation and the courage of the human forces. The Federation's military was fighting valiantly, but the citizens of Earth knew it wasn't just about the military. It was about their homes, their families, and their future. "Never give up," one reporter said, her voice steady even as the explosions of distant ships lit up the sky. "Humanity stands strong." At the heart of the battle, Captain James Turner, commanding one of Earth's most advanced ships, watched as his crew navigated through the chaos. The ship's shields were failing, but the crew was still determined to keep fighting. They knew their mission was crucial. Every strike, every move, was meant to slow down the Empire's advance long enough for the final counteroffensive. "Hold tight, everyone," Captain Turner said, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. "We're not giving them this planet." Above them, the battle continued. The Imperial ships were slowing down, their once imposing fleet now beginning to show signs of weakness. The Empire's warships were no longer as coordinated as before, and their attacks were growing more erratic. The Empire's commanders knew they had to regroup, but Earth wasn't giving them the chance. Back at Earth's command center, Sarah's eyes remained locked on the holographic display. The Empire had been pushed back, but she knew it was only a temporary victory. They had to keep the pressure on, force the Empire into a retreat. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. "We won't let them take our home." And just like that, the momentum had shifted. The Empire's once unyielding advance was now a desperate fight to hold their ground. Humanity had proven something in that moment. It wasn't just about advanced technology or overwhelming numbers. It was about heart, and Earth had plenty of that. With the Empire on the defensive, the final push was coming. The war wasn't over, but humanity had shown the galaxy that Earth would never surrender. The battle was reaching its breaking point. The Galactic Empire's fleet, once brimming with confidence, now found itself on the defensive. Earth's reserve fleet had struck hard, pushing back the Empire's warships and giving humanity its first real taste of victory. But even with the Empire faltering, the final push to secure Earth was still far from certain. General Sarah Yang stood in the command center, her gaze unwavering. The map of the battlefield flickered before her, showing the slowing movements of the Empire's ships. She knew this was their chance, the moment they had been waiting for. The Empire was reeling, but they still had the strength to retaliate. "Report," Sarah ordered. "General," a technician replied, his voice tense. "The Empire's fleet is retreating, but not in an organized fashion. Their ships are scattered. They're trying to regroup, but we're pressing them hard." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Keep pushing. If we let them regroup, this won't end in our favor." The human forces had learned from every battle, every skirmish. They had adapted, using the Empire's own arrogance against them. The once mighty fleet of the Empire was now spread thin, struggling to keep up with Earth's unpredictable tactics. Humanity's ability to think quickly, improvise, and adjust had turned the tide in their favor. On the front lines, Captain James Turner maneuvered his ship with precision. His vessel, one of Earth's newest and fastest, darted between enemy fire, its weapons hitting targets with deadly accuracy. Despite the damage to his ship's hull, he pressed on, knowing every second counted. The Empire's forces were trying to regroup, but Captain Turner and his crew wouldn't let them. "We can't let them recover," he muttered to himself. "Push forward. Stay sharp." The Empire's flagship, a massive warship that had once commanded the entire fleet, was now in sight. It loomed in the distance, damaged but still operational. The Galactic Empire's command center on board was frantic, with officers scrambling to regain control of the situation. "Why are we losing?" The Imperial commander growled. "We have the power to crush them. We've already lost several warships, but Earth's defenses shouldn't be able to keep up." "What are they doing?" "They're hitting us where it hurts, sir," a subordinate responded, his face grim. "We're too scattered. Their small ships are too fast. They're hitting our weak spots before we can react." The commander slammed his fist onto the console. "We'll regroup. Order the fleet to converge on the flagship. We're not leaving without Earth." Back on Earth, the ground forces were mobilizing for the final assault. If the shield fell, the human forces would need to be ready to defend the planet at all costs. Every soldier, every pilot, every technician was prepared to do their part. They knew what was at stake. "We've held them off this long," General Sarah Yang said, her voice filled with determination. "Now we finish what we started. We protect our planet. We protect our people." The Federation's leadership had made the bold decision to send ground forces to the spaceports and strategic points across Earth. These forces were ready to fight the moment the shield gave way. The military was prepared for this. After all, it wasn't just technology that kept them in the fight. It was their will to defend what they loved. As the last remaining outer defense platforms began to fail, the moment Sarah had feared had arrived. The planetary shield, already weakened by the relentless barrage, flickered one last time before it collapsed entirely. Earth was vulnerable. But Sarah didn't hesitate. "Initiate the final strike," she ordered. With the shield down, the Empire's fleet saw their opportunity to advance, and they didn't hesitate. Their warships surged forward, firing powerful blasts aimed directly at Earth's surface. But just as they moved to claim victory, the reserve fleets and hidden ships of Earth's forces descended upon them like a storm. "We'll show them how it feels to fight for their lives." Captain Turner's voice crackled over the comms as his ship joined the final assault. The space around Earth erupted with explosions as the human forces, now fully coordinated, unleashed their full power. The Empire's fleet began to splinter. The Empire's commanders tried desperately to regroup, but the damage was done. The human forces were everywhere, fast, unpredictable, and relentless. They struck from all directions, forcing the Empire to make split-second decisions. Every attack was designed to cripple their ships, to weaken their forces. At the heart of the chaos, General Sarah Yang gave her final command. "All ships, target the flagship. We end this now." The fleet responded, every human vessel focusing its fire on the largest and most heavily armored ship in the Empire's fleet. The flagship, once a symbol of the Empire's power, was now under siege. Inside the flagship's command center, the Imperial commander's face was pale. "We're losing," he muttered. How did they do this? His subordinate, equally stunned, could only shake his head. "We underestimated them. We thought they were weak. We thought they would crumble. But we were wrong." The flagship, now battered and on the verge of collapse, turned to make a retreat. But it was too late. A final devastating strike from Earth's forces sent the Imperial warship spiraling into a fiery explosion. The flagship's destruction sent shockwaves through the remaining Imperial fleet. Sarah watched from her command center, her chest tightening as the holographic image of the flagship was replaced by debris. The battle wasn't over, but a major victory had been won. The Empire had been dealt a heavy blow, and their retreat was inevitable. Humanity had stood its ground, fought for its survival, and now the Empire knew that Earth would not be conquered. The final push had begun. The Empire's grip on Earth had faltered, and soon they would be forced to retreat completely. The skies above Earth were filled with the remnants of the battle. Shattered warships from the Empire floated in space, their once pristine hulls now scorched and broken. The proud fleet that had once thought itself invincible was now nothing more than debris, scattered across the vastness of space. The remnants of the Empire's strength were fading fast. General Sarah Yang stood in the command center, eyes glued to the holographic map. The battle was almost over. The Empire's retreat was in full swing. The once feared Galactic Empire was now on the run, their power broken by the fierce determination and creativity of humanity. "All forces report," Sarah called out, her voice calm but filled with pride. "We've won, General." Captain James Turner's voice came through the comms. "Their ships are retreating, and we're clearing out the remaining pockets of resistance. Earth is safe." The words felt surreal. Earth was safe. For the first time in years, the fear that had loomed over humanity's shoulders began to dissipate. The Empire, with all its technology, weapons, and resources, had underestimated the one thing they could never prepare for: the indomitable spirit of humankind. Sarah let out a sigh of relief, but quickly turned her thoughts back to the future. "We've won this battle, but the war isn't over. We have to rebuild and make sure Earth is never again at risk." Across the globe, celebrations were already beginning. People in every nation, every city, and every town gathered to rejoice in their hard-earned victory. There were no alien overlords to dictate their future, no foreign conquerors to enslave them. Humanity had once again proven that it could stand tall, no matter how great the odds. As the news spread, the leaders of Earth gathered in a unified meeting. The United Nations, for the first time in history, was joined by representatives from every nation on Earth. The threat of the Empire had united humanity in ways that had never been seen before. National borders seemed less important now. The struggle for survival had forged bonds between people who had once been divided by race, culture, and geography. "I think we've earned the right to rebuild," the United Nations General Secretary said, his voice steady and full of resolve. "But we must also remember the lessons we've learned. We cannot let our guard down." Sarah Yang joined the leaders, standing tall beside them. "The Galactic Empire underestimated us. They believed that power, technology, and fear could rule the galaxy. But we've shown that willpower, unity, and determination are far stronger than any weapon." A long silence fell over the room, and then one by one, the leaders nodded in agreement. "Let's ensure that Earth's future is one of strength and peace," Sarah continued. "We must be ready for whatever comes next. We know the Empire won't just forget about this loss. They'll regroup, they'll learn, but so will we. And next time, we'll be even stronger." The leaders of Earth agreed to a new mission, not just to rebuild, but to ensure that humanity would always be ready for any threat in the future. They decided to form a united Earth Defense Force, with soldiers and scientists working together to advance technology, build stronger defenses, and establish alliances with other peaceful species in the galaxy. In space, Earth's reserve fleets were already making preparations for the long journey home. The victory celebrations were tempered by the understanding that there was still much work to be done. But humanity had proven something invaluable. When pushed to the edge, they would fight back with everything they had. The determination that drove them, the courage that had seen them through this dark time, would remain their greatest strength. Meanwhile, on the Earth's surface, the human race began to rebuild. Cities that had been damaged during the conflict were already being repaired. People worked together, side by side, to restore what had been lost. There was a sense of unity that had never been felt before, a sense that no force, be it alien or otherwise, could ever break their resolve. The survivors of the Empire, the few that remained, knew they could never return to Earth. Their defeat was total, and their reputation had been shattered. No longer would they be seen as invincible conquerors. They were now a cautionary tale, a warning of what happened when arrogance overpowered wisdom. On Earth, life began to return to normal. But there was an understanding that things would never be the same again. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and had emerged victorious. No longer would they be the helpless victims of an alien empire. They were stronger now, more united, and more prepared for whatever the future might bring. In the years that followed, Earth became a beacon of hope in the galaxy, a symbol of the resilience of the human spirit. No longer just another planet in the universe, it was now a force to be reckoned with. Allies from distant corners of the galaxy came to Earth, offering friendship and support in exchange for knowledge and protection. The once terrifying Galactic Empire was now a distant memory, and the humans who had stood against them were remembered as heroes, not just on Earth, but across the stars. And as Sarah Yang looked out over the horizon, she knew this was just the beginning. The future of humanity was bright, filled with endless possibilities. The galaxy would no longer see them as weak or inferior. They would see them as equals, as survivors, as warriors who had fought for their right to live and had won. The dawn of a new era had begun, and humanity was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.